Yes, you can make PDE5 inhibitors work a lot better by optimizing testosterone, and that is because of testosterone's critical interplay in penile tissue, specifically related to nitric oxide activity. But also, androgen deficiency actually creates a large number of fat-storing adipocytes in penile tissue, which contributes to erectile dysfunction. So when you restore androgens and you replenish nitric oxide synthase, arginine's conversion to nitric oxide, generalized nitric oxide activity, then you end up getting a better response to sildenafil and tadalafil, and that's what the research says. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down how to get a better response from PDE5 inhibitors through androgenic hormone manipulation. And what is important about it is breaking down the mechanism so that people truly see at a granular level what exactly is happening at the penile tissue level relative to androgens, so that ultimately we all can have a better experience either with PDE5 inhibitors, generally relative to sex and sexual function and erections. Before we start the video, supercharged dopamine, probably the most advanced course you'll ever get on enhancing and hacking the dopaminergic system, is 20% off. Code for that is 20 now. Torque Nootropics Stack, motivation, dopamine style energy, 35% off. Code for that is 35 Torque. Cortex Stack, 25% off. Code for that is 25 Cortex. And lastly, I'm a coach on TRT, sexual dysfunction, libido optimization, erectile function, nootropics, brain performance, host of other things. You can hire me in under a minute at livecortex.com. Okay, so the bottom line is this: there is no shortage of men, and maybe you've read this before, or maybe you've experienced it yourself, where you take somewhat of a high dose of a PDE5 inhibitor like Cialis, and you really don't get a potent erectogenic response, especially during sex. That's super fucking embarrassing. For those of you who've actually experienced that when you're trying to have sex and you're not functional. I've experienced that early in my 30s. I experienced that when I let my estradiol get too high and I didn't have enough DHT in my testosterone protocol, and it's a shitty state to be in. What I'm going to do in this video is break down how to make PDE5 inhibitors work better through androgenic hormone manipulation. This is a paper from a larger set of papers in what you may call kind of a small book called The Aging Male, that is titled Weapons of Penile Smooth Muscle Destruction. Androgen Deficiency Promotes Accumulation of Adipocytes in the Corpus Cavernosum. I think plenty of people, me included, have alluded to the notion that testosterone specifically and its metabolites, DHT to a large extent, very much so regulate penile function. We've talked about nitric oxide synthase and it being optimized via testosterone, so you're turning more arginine into nitric oxide, and obviously you need that for smooth muscle relaxation and erections. But as they go here, characterization of the molecular and cellular mechanisms by which androgens regulate corpus cavernosum structural and functional integrity would provide significant gains in knowledge and understanding of an important pathogenic process being ED. They end up going, androgen deficiency promotes differentiation into adipogenic lineage and accumulation of adipocytes in the corpus cavernosum and may contribute to erectile dysfunction. Here's something really interesting about castrated rats, right? Which if you were to try to find a human example of this, some sort of comparable situation, it would be someone with a 5-alpha reductase deficiency, or someone that's been on heavy 5-alpha reductase inhibitors and therefore can't convert their testosterone into dihydrotestosterone. It'd be someone, generally who has been hypogonadal to, either in addition to 5-alpha reductase deficiency or without, for some considerable period of time. It's some of these guys that have been on SSRIs. They go, we observed marked differences in the trabecular smooth muscle from the orchiectomized rabbits compared to those of intact animals by transmission electron microscopy. In castrated animals, the smooth muscle appeared disorganized. Okay, this is smooth muscle tissue in the penis. It appears disorganized with a large number of cytoplasmic vacuoles, whereas in the intact animals, the smooth muscle cells exhibited normal morphology and were arranged in clusters. These results suggest that androgens have a profound effect on the ultrastructure of the corpus cavernosum, and these alterations may contribute to the loss of physiological function. This is an article called Testosterone and Erectile Physiology, in which, relative to PDE5 inhibitors, there's a pretty important paragraph. It goes like this: an additional but important role for testosterone replacement therapy in erectile dysfunction is to restore the response to PDE5 inhibitors. A recent study recruited 20 men with arteriogenic erectile dysfunction who had normal sexual desire but low normal testosterone. All right, so these are guys that had ED, but they had normal libido, they had the desire to have sex, but just the mechanics didn't work, but who ultimately had low levels of testosterone. These guys didn't respond to the PDE5 inhibitor sildenafil, so that's Viagra, on 6 consecutive attempts. So imagine that you're taking 100 milligrams, 50 to 100 milligrams Viagra, and there's no fucking response down there, or there's next to no response, or it's just not a significant. It's like something's really wrong, right? Again, erectile physiology has gone awry from low levels of androgens. One of the main purposes of, androgen restoration or hormone replacement therapy or TRT, in addition to energy and like lots of other stuff, is restoring some of this nitric oxide mediated, but also like intracellular functionality within the penis that facilitates erectile function. Then they go like this. These men were randomized to receive placebo or transdermal testosterone. This was 5 milligrams a day for 1 month after taking sildenafil 100 milligrams. Okay, that's a high fucking dose of Viagra, by the way. The arterial inflow to cavernosal arteries was measured was significantly higher in patients receiving testosterone than in those receiving placebo. And what they ended up concluding is that in this study, the effects of testosterone appear to be direct vascular effects on nitric oxide mediated vasodilation and not necessarily an effect on libido. Now, like, who is this relevant to and why is this relevant? I think number one, look, if you stop responding to PDE5 inhibitors, or if you don't really respond to PDE5 inhibitors, whether you're on testosterone or not, look, if you are on TRT or HRT, like that's an indication that you need to change something with your protocol. Maybe you're not reducing your testosterone to DHT, enough of it, right? DHT, despite like a few weirdos on the web who seem to think that DHT like has like nothing to do with erectile function or whatever, like go ahead, start taking Proviron, you bind to the SHBG, and what ultimately ends up happening is you free up you get a bunch of free DHT, and tell me how much better your orgasms are, your erections are, your libido is, your ejaculate is. Like the whole fucking system will change on something like Proviron. People, that's estradiol is far over range, right? And look, the literature is actually very clear on this, and I've posted content about this before, that if the pathway of testosterone is more siphoned to aromatization and less to dihydrotestosterone, then yes, you're going to ultimately end up with sexual dysfunction. Not just because of the VEGF and the nitric oxide inhibition that happens in the penis from high levels of estradiol, but also, again, you're siphoning androgen, testosterone, pure precursor molecule, away from dihydrotestosterone, which you do not want. It's no secret that guys that go on 5-AR inhibitors that stop their conversion of testosterone to fucking DHT have erectile dysfunction and libido problems. I've dealt with at least 50 of them in my day. But maybe you're not on TRT, and it's an indication that when Viagra and Cialis have stopped working, that you've got to work on androgen manipulation. Get on TRT, maybe get on some HCG, maybe get on Proviron with a little bit of TRT and HCG. I mean, these are the combinations of things that revive the sexual system in people that have hardcore problems where you're not responding to Viagra or Cialis. This is not good. Here's another one. Daily Cialis doesn't work. Guy goes, it only worked for 1 year. What a disappointment. What the fuck happened? Well, it seems pretty clear to me, right? I mean, if there's an androgen deficiency, then you got this buildup of these cells that are ultimately like fat placing around tissues within the penis. And this is going to inhibit not only nitric oxide, but also make it so that proper blood flow is severely inhibited, right? You're not going to be able to, the physical mechanics of how erections work are going to be pretty broken in this case. You will have a much better response to PDE5 inhibitors when you get your testosterone protocol straight, or if you raise your testosterone from being hypogonadal. A good degree of this channel these days is about strategy to improve testosterone placement therapy protocols, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that, you don't even really see. Again, if your testosterone is being siphoned more to estradiol, not to DHT, you're going to have a shitty libido and shitty erections. Elevated prolactin is actually a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. Now, in the literature, they only inhibited 5-alpha reductase for like 20 days. And then within 3 days, once prolactin was normalized, that stopped happening and a proper conversion to tested DHT took place. But if you've got hyperprolactinemia or elevated prolactin for a long time, we really don't actually know what that does to the 5-alpha reductase enzymes. So, people could have deficiencies in that, even on TRT because of elevated prolactin, or, there's actually been a lot of anecdotal reporting of this, like their testosterone not actually converting properly to DHT, even though they're on androgen. So they're super anabolic, but they're not androgenic, right? They're walking around big and look muscular and gaining size in the gym, but their dick is broken. Bottom line is, optimizing your protocol on TRT, getting on HRT, TRT, HCG, maybe Proviron, right? Like all these things, and really fixing the intrapenile tissue destruction, which ultimately happens from a lack of androgens over a long period of time. Optimizing nitric oxide via androgens, but also, look, if you take good degree of L-arginine, you're going to make more nitric oxide. And once you actually get a protocol straight that like is giving you some benefits, sticking with it for a while thereafter, likely going to restore a lot of the stuff that's happening intrapenile wise related to erectile physiology, and also going to radically change your effect from PDE5 inhibitors. You should be able to dose 5 to 10 milligrams tadalafil a day and have ragers, like absolute fucking ragers in the morning and like when you're sleeping at night and randomly throughout the day, and especially during sex. You should be able to do that. So if you're not able to dose 5 to 10 milligrams tadalafil and get that response, something's wrong with the erectile physiology, and you've got to get to the bottom of it via doing all the stuff we talked about, modulating your hormones, maybe bringing in a DHT derivative, working on 5-alpha reduction of testosterone to DHT, lowering estradiol, all the things that we've talked about that we know work, bringing in HCG so you have more 5-alpha reductase and ultimately some luteinizing hormone receptor binding in the brain, which is fucking critical for libido. All this stuff, guys. Our whole channel is a litany of videos, about different topics and different situations in which we basically go, hey, if this is your situation, try this, try this, try this, try this, try this. All right, everybody, I am nearly booked on coaching. So if you need to book me, those of you business people or entrepreneurs with the budget that want to fix serious problems related to erectile function, libido, TRT optimization, hormone optimization in general, brain performance, sleep issues, dopamine issues, you can hire me in under a minute, livecortex.com. There's a 3-month program, there's a 6-month program, and there is a 1-year program. If you've got the budget, go for more time. We will get a lot more done in more time. Torque Stack, 35% off. Code for that is 35Torque. This is all day energy and motivation. This is a hardcore dopamine nootropic stack. All right, Cortex Stack, fast onsetting stimulant, very potent, very noticeable. 25% off. Code for that is 25Cortex. And on our website, there's like 6 downloadable digital courses, 5 downloadable guides, just a host of like really great information relative to TRT nootropics and otherwise that you can get all down in the description of this video. All right, boys, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you had a great, safe Memorial Day. Onward and upward through the rest of the summer. We got more holidays coming, baby. 4th of July is coming soon, and it's summer, so life is great. Sub to the channel, it makes a big difference. Appreciate the time that you've taken to watch this video. And boys, I'll talk to you in the next one.